Taoiseach, I heard you making reference there to county councils. So I just want to ask, in the context of climate change, do you share the views attributed recently to the Dublin City Manager that if he had his way, he'd cut down all the trees on the streets in Dublin, traversed by buses, which is certainly very radical action in relation to climate. And it just shows how difficult it is, notwithstanding 300 or 400 or 500-point plans, to get real coordination and leadership at the point of institutions like county councils. I was among many who dropped in to the Youth Assembly that was here courtesy of the Ceann Comhairle, and I think it was a very good initiative. But what I was interested in was your own comments praising the young people to the sky. Now, they were quite practical. They wanted things like forests and trees planted, not cut down, as the manager was suggesting. And they also wanted deciduous forests planted, not just Sitka spruce and permanent darkness in areas heavily planted with that species. They also wanted public transport, and in particular improvements in air quality, which is something that we have failed, and your government has still failed to take on the smoky coal merchants and take one step which would actually ban that and give relief to towns like Enniscorthy, which are really badly polluted. And we do know the success of clean air policies here in Dublin City, but also in all the other major cities right around the country. Can I just ask you as well, in terms of young people and your comments on young people, what do you plan to do that would actually follow up on some of the very heartfelt comments that they made here last Friday, and which you praised to the sky without any specifics?
Thanks, Ceann, and I want to thank deputies once again for their questions. And I also want to join with other deputies in welcoming the Youth Climate Assembly, which was held here last Friday, and particularly to recognise the Ceann Comhairle and the team around you for taking that initiative and for making it possible. And I know that around the world, particularly on Fridays, students have been protesting outside parliaments, and I'm sure they'll continue to do so. But I think it's a good thing that we were the first parliament in the world to actually invite young people and students in to make the recommendations that they did. They've made 10 recommendations in total. I have read them. They were received personally by Minister Burton last Friday. Government will examine them and will respond to them in a reasoned and serious way. That will involve, no doubt, accepting some and implementing them. It may involve not being able to accept others, particularly those that may not be in the competence of the Irish government, such as those that relate to international trade law, for example. But one that did strike me, which was a learning for me, was the recommendation that they made around refrigeration in particular. And I think was one of the young people who attended pointed out that we would never in our homes leave our fridge wide open. We've all been told since we've been kids to close the fridge, and we would never in our own homes take the door off the fridge or leave a fridge wide open. Yet we go into shops and supermarkets all the time, and all we see is food on display in open fridges, and that costs a lot of money, involves a lot of energy being used, and that contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. And that was the one that really stuck out for me as an area that perhaps we need to legislate in to require businesses and shops and others to close fridges that are now currently open. On exploration, all I can say